I've been a Smith Machine disrespecter for quite some time. I've recently got one in the garage gym. One of these is this one. This is the Bells of Steel Smith Machine attachment. I'm gonna do a full breakdown review on what I think about this one, as well as others that are on the market because you've been asking. So let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. Today we're reviewing the Bells of Steel Smith Machine attachment. Also, at the end of this video, I'm gonna do a Q&A. If you like that sort of thing, let me know in the comments. Also, just stay to the end so you can watch it. For a long time, I was a Smith Machine disrespecter in that I just didn't think they were very useful. I didn't think they were very beneficial. So I decided to get one in my garage. I have the Bolt Fitness Smith Machine attachment that's similar to this in some ways, different in others. I may speak to it on this video, but if you'd like to see a review on that one specifically, let me know in the comments. One reason I think I didn't value the Smith Machine is I just didn't understand its purpose. The reality is you don't want to necessarily always be working stabilizers. There's a purpose for a Smith Machine, and it's really more suited towards bodybuilding type movements where you just want to focus on the movement and on a certain muscle. So now I use a Smith Machine a lot. And this one from Bells of Steel is one of the few you can actually add to a rack. Generally, just about any standard rack. I will talk more about compatibility in a moment, but also offers it at a price that really, very similar to other Bells of Steel products, is more value oriented, which means it also has some problems, but I'll talk about those. Okay, so Bells of Steel has generally two different options for these. They have this version, which is their own bar, or one they call the BYOB, which is bring your own bar, which is this version right here. Just to show you how it works pretty quickly. Basically, the bar sits in here on these bearings, and then this clamps on there. It's not like a quick adjust, quick remove type thing. It's in there, but you can notice because of these bearings, it rotates. I will say, if you're going to bring your own bar, there's some benefits and negatives. The big benefit is you're using probably a nicer bar than what this is. I'll speak on that in a moment. But the downside is if it's a nice bar, number one, it's just gonna be in there all the time. You're not gonna take it out. Number two, it's gonna weigh more than what this one does. And then number three, that precious knurl in your barbell is gonna get smashed due to these metal bearings. It would be nice if these were UHMW plastic, but they're not. So just understand whatever bar you put in there, don't expect to use it for any other movements. Okay, so in addition to the two options for the fixed bar or the bring your own bar, this actually has multiple ways that it can be used. It just may affect some compatibility issues during assembly. But one of the unique things about this that they thought through, this allows you to either do a fixed up and down movement, so just completely vertical, or an angled version. And it can be done pretty simply by using the same brackets and just assembling it in a different way. In fact, many Smith machines on the market are angled just slightly because there's some people that really like the angle. Personally, I don't know why, but I just prefer the general up and down. There may be some movements that you can move this back and have the angle where it's nicer, but the up and down is very nice. Now, on assembly and compatibility for this, on assembly, it's pretty straightforward. You are gonna have to have multiple people due to the way that it's built. It's just hard to do on your own. Also, check their compatibility chart. One thing I'll say on their compatibility, when you look at it, you're gonna be like, well, is this actually gonna work for my rack? On their site, they say that the only one that works on a 47-inch outside to outside rack, which this is, it's a rep rack, is the bring your own bar version. If you notice, I do not have the bring your own bar version. I have the fixed bar version, and it's on a 47-inch rack, which they say is incompatible on their site. So either we just broke the rules and found out something that they didn't know, or they just have it wrong on their site. So if you're wondering, does the fixed version work on a rep rack? Because many of you probably have rep racks. According to the one that I've got, it does. They made it so that it should work on generally just about any 2x2, 2x3 or 3x3 rack with 1-inch holes or 5/8-inch holes. But you gotta understand, it's got its own upright and it sits essentially 10 inches off of the back upright or the front upright if you put it all the way back. Where we have it right now, the idea behind this was basically you could use this for the Smith machine component, but you still have the opportunity if you wanted to use these back uprights for J-cups or the front uprights. One thing about the Bolt Fitness version is it takes an entire upright and you can only use that upright for the Smith machine. This version basically allows you to have another upright because it sits on the cross members. So if you had like a 48-inch depth or something, 49-inch depth, one of those big depths, or you had a 30-inch or 24-inch, basically you could put this in the middle and then still have room to use your barbell for standard movements or use any of your attachments, which is very nice. Some of the other options don't allow that. Okay, now to speak to like some of the componentry, they're using linear guide rods. Linear guide rods are what you're typically going to see from most Smith machines. If I took this off, you would just see a ton of ball bearings. You can kind of hear it when it moves up and down. If you've ever been to a commercial gym, you're used to that sound. It feels and moves very smoothly, just as you'd expect. One thing I will say on this is you gotta make sure they're lubed all the time. Also recognize, this is gonna be used in a garage gym. Garage gyms are known to have a ton of dirt. Basically, you've got all this oil on the guide rod. Well, then all that dust attracts and sticks to that oil, and then you move this up and down, and then it gets inside of your bearings, and then it sticks over time. The bar is a hollow bar. This has benefits and negatives. The benefit is that it's a lighter start weight. The start weight for this is 36 pounds. The reason that's nice is because many Smith machines that don't have a counterbalance weight on there are actually very heavy. The bring your own bar version is probably gonna be heavier because if you put a 45-pound bar in there, you're also gonna have to add the weight of this, so it just gets heavy somewhat quick. Downside to this bar is the fact that it's hollow. The max weight for this is 600 pounds. 600 pounds should be just fine, but most people that are lifting very heavy are not doing so on a Smith machine. They're just doing it with a barbell. So for general movements that you would do on a Smith machine, 600 pounds is fine. I really like that they went with this direction with the hollow bar. The knurling is okay. It's better than some Smith machine bars that I've seen on the market, but it's certainly not something where if you had this as a barbell, you would be raving about it. It's a medium knurl. It's a little bit more aggressive than I think most knurls that are on the market. The starts and stops are not great. It's okay. It's a chrome bar. To me, it's like they were trying to hit a price point. They didn't think a ton about the details. The details are just okay on this, but they're trying to hit something that's more budget-ended that a lot of people could use. And for that price, I think this fits well. Now to the smoothness on the latches, which matter. One thing I've noticed, and this may be due to assembly, but on certain parts of the machine, it's very easy to go forward and back. On others, it's very hard. So for example, at the very top, this thing is like very hard to move back and forward, where down here, it's perfectly fine. This brings me to another issue that you can probably see really quickly. The start height of the Smith machine attachment is kind of high. The start height of the bar is mid-thigh. You're probably not gonna be doing much deadlifting on this or RDLs on this unless you put pads and plates underneath and raise yourself up. Then to the stops, there's 10 total stops. 3 of them you're not really even using when it's resting there. So technically you have like 7 stops, which I will say is perfectly fine. One thing that is nice about a Smith machine is just the safety aspect, because you can lift alone so you don't crush yourself during bench press. To summarize, all in all, would I recommend this? Yes, kinda. Here's why. Number one, there's not a lot of these options out. This is kind of a first mover advantage for Bells of Steel. They've been teasing this quite a bit. They do have some unique features like the angle, which I really like. I will say on the angle feature, it would be really nice if they made it so it was quick select. So if they made this bracket longer so it went further back, and then you could basically easily angle it, I think something like that would be really nice, because in its current state, you gotta pick one or the other. You gotta pick upright or you gotta pick angled, and it basically stays there unless you wanna get some tools out and do some assembly. It'd be really nice if you could just quickly angle it. That's something that this machine has that most others don't, which I think is pretty cool. What I will say though is the price is good. So the price is $800 for the quality and basically how much steel is here. That includes free shipping. I think it's pretty all right. I don't think it's like overpriced. I will say if you're wanting one of these and you're wanting a really quality one, I would just wait and just see what other companies come out with. I expect many more to come out, and you're gonna have different price points and different options. Another option, obviously, that you should consider is the Bulletproof VTS system, which has the VTS or the VTS Lite. That's a review that we wanna do in the future. If you'd like to see that, let me know. But if you're just looking for something where you're just like, I want a good budget piece, I want something that works, and I want a Smith machine attachment, this one hits all those marks. It works. It's just, there's nothing really to write home about. Now let me answer a few questions that you may have on this. What's the shaft diameter of the bar? 35 millimeters. A standard bar is gonna be 28 to 29. Power bar is gonna be 29. The reason they do that is basically so it's stronger because it is hollow, so then it can hold more weight. The thicker diameter feels better on the back, and if you've never pressed, like done any bench with this thick of a bar, you're gonna like it. Okay, what racks does this work on? They say on their site that it doesn't work on 47-inch racks unless you use their BYOB version. This is the fixed version, and it works on a rep rack, which is 47 inches. Also says on the site it should work on a 49-inch rack too. I would go through them to figure out exactly if it's going to work on your rack. I would just send them an email before you buy it. They do say the brackets can be mounted to the back uprights, both of them, but if you do that and you drop the bar, they say it could permanently damage the unit. So basically it's safer and more durable if you mount them to the top and bottom cross members. Lastly, why is this called the Smith machine? I actually don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments. It's been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. I'll see you next time.
Well, we kill 19.